VTubers, virtual entertainers who create content for millions of people around the world. Some of the most successful VTubers were manufactured by companies that farm parasocial relationships for profit. One of these companies is HoloLive, and not too long ago, they created a comic in order to promote their Generation 6 Secret Society HoloX lineup. And is it any good? Let's find out. The first chapter begins with an exposition dump, telling the reader that the VTuber characters are in a secret society that is trying to take over the world or the universe or something. The main protagonist is Sakamata Chloe, who's like a secret society intern. It is her first day of work, and she runs into her coworker, La Darkness. She's like some emo child who's actually a million-year-old demon or something. I would like to establish that you really can't fault the manga for the oddcast, as they're all created by a major company instead of a single artist. All that happens is the emo kid acts all edgy and re-explains the entire premise of the story to Chloe. The second chapter is dedicated to another character introduction. Takane Lui is an executive officer of the society. In order to celebrate that the society is getting a new intern, they have a feast. I can't really make any jokes or comment about this because nothing happens at all. The next chapter is also a character introduction. Haiku Kiari is the 4chan cat girl of the group. She acts nice and all, but is actually kind of a creep. Because she's a creep, I guess the corporate suits decided it would be a good idea to make this chapter kinda gross. That is another thing about this manga. From what I could find, the manga doesn't have a single author. An artist named Okada Anamitsu does the illustrations, but the author is credited as Cover Corporation. It feels like a bunch of executives met once a week in an office and one guy goes, "So, what do the kids like these days? I love food, let's make a chapter about food. I love idols, let's make a chapter about singing. Let's make a chapter about..." And that last guy is what gave us this chapter. The cat chick goes, "Let's research your body." And yeah, that's for real. Thankfully, the comic is published through Shonen Jump Plus, so nothing too bad could happen. Chloe's made to put on normal people clothes and then confront a creepy robot. Anyways, there are a lot of odd innuendos, but ultimately nothing happens. Somehow the robot activates self-destruct mode and the VTubers have to figure out how to turn it off. They do this by playing slots, which is actually pretty creative. They're literally gambling for their lives. There are stakes, there's tension, and there's creativity. Because this isn't the final chapter, the VTubers are able to stop the robot from exploding, and the rest of the chapter is just them being thankful to be alive. Chapter 4 is the final introduction chapter. We are introduced to Kazame Orha, who is a samurai. In this chapter, everyone just sits around and talks about Iora's experiences, which wouldn't be so bad, except for the fact that her experiences are pretty mundane. But now that we have our cast, we can get to world domination. After discussing how to take over the world, it's decided that they will shoot children. To be honest, this is a pretty brutal way of doing things, and I can't say I agree with the direction the comic has taken. Like, I thought the whole world domination thing was more of a way to keep the plot moving. I had no idea they would actually execute it. Or children. In order to practice their aim, the VTubers hunt down a group of local children and challenge them to a water blaster fight. I actually like this chapter. It's pretty chill, and you can tell the artist had a lot of fun illustrating this one. Remember that weird businessman from earlier? Yeah, this is one of his chapters. Chapter 6 is a beach episode, or in other words, an excuse for the characters to wear skimpy outfits. If they really wanted to be sus, they could have at least picked a more creative way of doing so. After catching some fish, the gang sells them to the local supermarket. The chapter actually isn't too bad, but at the same time, nothing happens. I get that it's a slice of life story, but what separates mid slice of life stories from good slice of life stories is how the aspects of the life we are subjected to impact the characters that are involved. For instance, in Usuzumi no Hate, we see how the protagonist helps encourage people to continue on living and gives those she interacts with hope and closure. The protagonist has an impact, and although we can't really see the effects of this impact, we know what these effects are, which is what makes the slice of life element so important. The slice of life format is used as a vehicle to give the reader insight to the circumstances of the story, while in HoloX, the slice of life element is used as a crutch more than anything. This isn't a bad thing, because the comic is for people who are already fans of VTubers, but it does fail to attract new readers. Anyways, chapter 7 gets things back on track. In exchange for popularity, the girls will perform songs at a club in a singing competition. The chapter is all about Chloe overcoming her stage fright and gaining confidence, and it actually isn't half bad. A lot of people have these issues, and this chapter really goes to humanize this character. It kinda stinks that this is one of the few chapters that actually has a theme like this, but one of the major flaws of this manga is how it utilizes your prior knowledge of VTubers in order to get you interested. It just assumes you know stuff, and I'm not a VTuber fan, so I'm not doing homework, so this kind of thing just isn't for me. I find it funny how chapter 8 is kind of a ripoff of chapter 7. Instead of singing, the girls perform a magic stunt. Also, I lied about the singing, they do more of that too. Unlike previous chapter, there's not really an attempt to dive into the characters' insecurities and flaws, and it's probably because these characters are just manufactured to be the perfect waifus, so they don't have flaws, but like, whatever. The weird businessman had his way with chapter 9. In this chapter, the VTubers try to get real jobs. They're just like me for real. In order to get jobs, they must have presentations, but because they didn't prepare anything, they have to rizz up this businesswoman and a robot, and how will they win them over? Well, of course, fan service. In the end, it is decided the VTubers will get their own merch, and it's hinted at that you, the reader, should go buy some. Consume, you filthy neat. In chapter 10, the VTubers get another job, this time at a maid cafe, and once again, it's just an excuse for them to dress up in cute outfits. There are other chapters after this one, but a man like me can only take so much of this manga. The reasons why I didn't really enjoy this manga are pretty much the same as why I wasn't rocking with the Genshin Impact anthology manga. It relies on prior knowledge, its tone goes from wholesome to sus way too quick, and the slice of life element isn't really used in any unique, creative way. Obviously, this manga is for the fans, which is a pretty cool thing, I guess, but I couldn't help feel like this was just a way to make money more than anything else. On a positive note, there is a pretty solid VTuber manga called My Dad's the Queen of All VTubers. The premise is that this kid finds out his dad is his favorite VTuber, and yes, his dad pretends to be a female VTuber on the internet, just like how it is in the real world. This manga is so stupid it's funny, which is why I think you guys might like it a bit more than HoloX. Anyways, thank you all for your recent support. Later, gamers.